Welcome back to Difficult Dish, hosted by me, Mashnun Munir, and my co-host right here.
Hi, Mahua Khan.
And today, as you can see, we have a guest today.
We have
on
an
the podcast.
amazing, incredible guest.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote a little intro for you.
Oh, we got an intro.
I've been doing this. I've
got
been
an
doing
intro.
this recently.
Let's
I've
hear
been
it.
liking it. All right.
I gave her the idea. All right, go.
So we got Jai Wolf or Sajeeb.
Oh my
He
God.
is a Bangladeshi producer of EDM music who is a classically trained violinist who moved from Bangladesh with his family and settled in Long Island, New York. He has built his notoriety by creating his own singles like Indian Summer, you guys know it, and Like It's Over, and remixing songs with artists like Alesso, Melanie, Martinez, Odesza. He is the first Bangladeshi artist to play at Coachella,
Oh
and
my
he has
God.
also become the first Bangladeshi artist to sell out a concert at the Red Rock Amphitheater in Colorado.
Shout out Colorado.
This man is currently on a national tour, so we are so honored to have him on the podcast.
Yes.
Yes,
Welcome.
sir.
That's good intro.
Welcome. You like that?
Yeah.
That's good.
Wait,
Yeah.
you said Jai Wolf?
Yeah.
I don't know Jai Wolf. I know someone else. I know No Pets Allowed.
Hey, yo, the
Oh
OG.
my God.
We got Nardwar over here.
Oh my God.
This is the OG name. If you guys don't know.
Thank you so much, Sajeeb, for
Yeah,
joining us on
thanks
the
for having
podcast
me.
today.
Yeah.
We out here. I'm such a big fan of your music. I haven't
Thanks, man.
really gotten into this. I'm a big fan of your music. I have a little bit of a story that I'll tell later on
Okay.
about your music, but thank you so much for coming on. We're very excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
And yeah, let's
House right now.
not
On
actually.
national tour.
That's that boy. Y'all see the T-shirt too. This boy came fitted up.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my
Shout out
God.
to Cash Collective, you know,
Oh.
from the Bay.
Favorite
Yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan
Yeah.
movie.
Oh, favorite Shah Rukh Khan movie?
Favorite Shah Rukh Khan movie. Get into it.
Oh man, I'm so basic.
That's
I mean,
fine.
Probably K3G. I don't know.
Mm.
But you know what?
That's fine.
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai also a
Kuch
classic.
hota hai.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Have you seen the?
know
My
if
name
I-
is Khan.
No, I haven't seen those. No.
I saw that in theaters with my mom.
It's emotional.
My God, that shit was sad.
Bollywood is so
Good.
interesting when you're Bengali though, because I only know like the mainstream ones.
Yeah.
No,
No,
me too.
And I feel like my mom, she was tapped in, but she wasn't like super tapped in.
Would you watch like the Bangla films growing up?
Some of them like Satyajit Roy and those, but honestly, my favorite Bollywood movie is Lagan.
Lagan.
Is the soundtrack.
Have not watched.
The soundtrack. You haven't seen Lagan?
Damn.
That's rare, because my friend.
That's right.
No, it's rare because my friend, shout out Sarah Khan, she roasts me for not watching enough Bollywood. I'm just like, I feel like Bengali people, I have a lot of Bengali friends, they're not super tapped into Bollywood. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
No, yeah, I'm not tapped in at all. It's very
I think in
embarrassing.
my adult years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lagan is just like, it's just so good. It's like an epic cricket match. Amir Khan.
That boy.
But the soundtrack is so good. It's A.R. Rahman. So that's like that's my entry point into A.R. Rahman. is
that movie.
soundtrack.
Damn.
Kind of 99, early 2000s. It's not that OG. Makes me feel old if you're calling it OG. But I would listen to that shit on the way to middle school.
Oh,
like,
damn.
Right.
My parents would drive me to school. I'd be listening to the Lagan soundtrack. It's just epic. It's so cool.
That's how I feel about. Have you watched the movie Funna?
No.
That's how I feel about that soundtrack.
You
I used to
feel
have the
same
DVD.
Of, like Ratatouille.
Relax. I used to. There's this movie called Fun. I had the DVD, not the DVD, the CD, and I used to
Okay.
play it in my 2006 Chrysler Sebring every single day.
That's a good. Story.
Anyways,
Chrysler Sebring, you didn't have a Honda Civic? Or Toyota Corolla?
no, this was my
The
mom's
OG.
car. My first car was a
Okay.
Honda Civic.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie. 2013 black. I miss it. I blacked out the rims and everything. I
Okay.
gave it to my sister. It's still blacked out.
That's
She
the
needs to
OG
give it
brown
back to
boy
me one
car.
day.
Yeah, I was very, very.
Well, you
bad
had a
with that
Civic?
shit. No, it was CRV.
Hey.
Ah,
I
that's
was
close,
a
that's close.
SUV guy. Yeah, yeah.
My mom had a CRV.
Yeah, yeah.
That's close.
R.I.P.
Wrong
though.
fit.
It was 2007. But they got rid of it because at some
Damn.
point it was costing too much for upkeep.
Damn. What they move on to a Pilot?
No, they finally upgraded to like Acura type.
Nice.
Cars, you know,
Gold.
The Evolve,
Yeah.
the
Goals.
The
evolution.
Evolved. Yeah.
Goals.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Let's get it started.
Yeah.
What do you want to start
So-
off with?
You're an OG Long Island boy.
Li,
I
stand
am.
up.
Well, first, you want to say like an introduction for yourself? We
Oh.
just-
Oh.
Yeah, where are you from?
Oh no! I don't know how to. I'm Jai Wolf. I'm
Yeah.
Sajeeb. Yeah, I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
I played a couple shows this weekend at Elsewhere Rooftop, and then went to DC, and now I'm here hanging
Oh
out
my
with these
God.
guys. Yeah,
Just casual.
Queens.
Yeah.
We out here.
So, do you rep Long Island first of all?
You know what's funny? I have a funny story about that. There's this blog. Shout out to this blog. It's called Dancing Astronaut. Whole team is great. All the riders are great.
Uh-huh.
And there's one rider when he found out I was from Long Island, he was so excited because he's also from Long Island.
Really?
His name's Eric. Shout out to Eric.
Shout out him.
But every time they'd write an article about me, like years ago, they'd be like, Long Island-based DJ. and I'd be like,
You're like, I live in Colorado.
like, please say New York or something. It's just so much cooler. Just something about, like, you know, like when I went to college and I'd tell everyone I'm from Long Island, I didn't realize there was this stereotype of Long Islanders.
Yeah.
I also, to clarify, I grew up in Illinois and then moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then moved to Long Island for high school.
Okay.
So I've kind of been around America growing up, typical immigrant stuff.
When did you get to Long Island? Like what
Ninth
age?
grade. I was 13.
Oh,
wow,
okay.
But now that like you do the math, I was there for 18 years in New York. So I was not aware of the whole like, Long Islanders are like douchebags and whatever, that kind of stuff. But it's
Whitewashed.
funny. Yeah. And my parents, when they moved to Long Island, they moved specifically for the education system.
Right. Same.
For the schools. So we didn't buy a house or anything. My house in Pittsburgh, this is interesting real estate history.
Yeah.
This is the true lore for him.
Good lore.
This is
the lore
this
we're
is
here
just
for.
so crazy to think about. My house in Pittsburgh was like 180,000. Wow. We come to Long Island, these houses are like
Like $1
upwards of
million.
$1 million.
Yep.
And my parents at that time had just switched careers. My dad has a PhD in physics.
Wow.
He was a researcher, really smart guy.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But he switched to medical physics and had to be retrained by one of our family friends, also Bengali. But when we came to Long Island, they were still working their way up in that career field. So we rented the upstairs floor of someone else's house just so I can go to school in Long Island.
Wow.
We had our two options were like, I almost went to Stuyvesant. They were almost trying to send me to Stuyvesant or something.
But you're not allowed to from Long Island, are you?
Well, I mean, if we like moved to Queens or whatever, that was like one of the options they were considering. But like my parents literally couldn't afford to live in Long Island. We were renting. It was like a Pakistani guy.
Yeah.
He in New York, it's legal to do that if you have a separate entry point in the house.
It is. It is.
So my bedroom, no joke, in high school was the attic. Some Harry Potter shit, I feel.
In the cellar, like you're in the underneath
Kinda,
stairs.
yeah, it was very
was
like
cooking,
it
he was
was
plotting.
musty and dusty, but like that's kind of the whole immigrant thing of like we want our kids to have.
It's
best
so
education,
interesting because like I'm also from Long Island. We actually grew up in very like similar areas, and my parents also moved there for the education. I was originally born in Queens, and we owned our house originally, but after just like bad financial decisions, we ended up not owning our house anymore, but we were still living in it, but like basically renting our own house.
Yep,
because the same like Pakistani guy
this,
owned it now.
Post housing crash.
Post housing crash, post like the decline in the stock market.
So
we weirdly got lucky because we were renting when that happened.
Interesting.
We my dad kind of dodged it. But what was interesting about being in Long Island made me feel the same way is that because I had grown up lower middle class, I was suddenly going to school with kids driving
and the
Mercedes,
upper ones,
wearing Sean John.
Yep.
And you start to have like, class consciousness or whatever, like understanding kind of where you fit and all that. And so that was a very strange experience. But to go back to your question about repping Long Island, I always felt like almost like an outsider still because I'd come from the Midwest. And I liked certain aspects of it, but also just knowing that the people you're hanging out with was a little bit wealthier or whatever always felt a little strange. So
did you feel like imposter syndrome because
kind of?
I mean, did you even have like Bangladeshi kids around there?
Barely. So many Indians.
Yeah, a lot of Indians.
All the Bengali people that we knew, that my dad had an alumni association, so he met other Bengali people, and they're all Jackson Heights, Queens, and all that. And you might be aware of this, but there's that divide. A Long Island brown kid is so different from like a Queens brown kid.
Yeah.
And I was just somewhere in between. I came from the Midwest, you know? Yeah.
No, it was the same thing for me where growing up in Long Island, I went there for elementary and high school. I never felt like in any group because again, there was a lot of Indian people, there's a lot of white people. So I never felt like Indian enough, but obviously not white enough. I tried my best to fit in both, but it didn't work. So then my best option was like, okay, let me try to go to college in Manhattan to like kind of get more of like a perspective and like be surrounded by people that look like me, and that definitely helped a lot. But also I don't know if I would change it because I think if I did grow up in an area with more open-minded people, more culture and things like that, I feel like I'd be in a completely different place, or I wouldn't like embrace it as much as I do now, you know?
Was it tough to like find your crowd? Like you just
Yeah.
moved there, you were 13, so like you're already like a
yeah.
growing kid.
Being a new kid for 9th grade is
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But what was good that kind of offset it was historically I'd grown up in white communities in Pittsburgh and Illinois, where like, you know, there'd be a couple of Asian or a couple of brown kids, and the Bengali community would be just spread across so many different school districts. So on the weekends I'd see all these brown kids, but then I go to school, it's all white kids, right? So when I came to Long Island, what I did like is that my district was 50% Asian, both East Asian and South Asian. So that was a culture shock, but in a good way, because then I ended up having a very multicultural, diverse friend group. So I was like, damn, you guys lived like this your whole lives? I'm just getting this at 13. So I like that. I actually like that. I have very positive, fond memories of high school.
True.
Yeah.
Shout out Long Island.
Yeah,
Long
shout
Island.
out
I-
Long
I'm
Yeah.
like, honestly, now that I'm older, I'm kind of repping it more.
I'm still friends with what I like about being from New York is that, you know, we'd all go to college, we come back home, and you know, if you're Asian, usually you stay with your parents to save money. So I kept in touch with a lot of my. They're at the show this weekend at Elsewhere. They come to all my shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's nice having that. Like we have like a WhatsApp group chat and everything.
WhatsApp, wow, that's like
Yeah.
millennial.
No, I hate it straight up.
Yeah.
I try to
You
get them
gotta
on
do.
Facebook Messenger, which
That's
yes, I know
the
that
next
sounds
step.
millennial now.
That also sounds
But in
little
the
better.
mid 2010s, Facebook Messenger, I really liked the
it's
interface.
popping, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I never understood why we never just stayed on iMessage.
No.
'Cause all my group chats are on iMessage, and then I have this one high school chat that's just on WhatsApp.
Like-
The worst is like group me. That used to be our
fuck GroupMe.
I just went to Bangladesh and I was hanging out with one of my cousins who has like a iPhone 14 and
Yeah.
like we used to always text on Facebook Messenger because I thought he had an Android, but I go and I see he has an iPhone. I was like, yo, why don't you just text me? He's
Yeah.
like, yo, we don't do that. I was like,
Yeah, they don't.
What?
It's so weird.
It's
very.
free.
It's free.
Yeah.
It is
No
free.
cost to it.
When did you go to Bangladesh?
We actually both went back in February, so like 4 months ago.
Yeah, I
beautiful
went
time.
back after 20 years. It was
Yeah, she
crazy.
went 20
Holy
years.
shit!
Yeah.
Crazy.
20 years.
The first time I went was first grade, and then just recently, and that same thing with my mom. She hasn't been
Yeah.
back.
You know what? It is like that because
Yeah.
the first time. So I was just there in December. But my gap before that was 6 years. Before that was 2017. But the thing that makes me sad is knowing that like my dad, the gap between him immigrating here and then visiting was 16 years.
Wow.
So
And you have family there.
Yeah. So I was born there. Came here in 92. Me and my mom went back to do green card stuff in 98. That was my first time back. I was 7. And then my second trip when I was like an angsty teen in 06, my dad finally came to visit. And it was like a very emotional for him because he didn't see his parents and all that stuff for 16 years. So that gap is understandable.
Yeah.
It is, especially for Bengali people, because it's kind of like a class thing.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to get that plane ticket back.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same thing. Like, even though I lived in Long Island and people see Long Island as like rich, you know, folks, we didn't have that upbringing really. So the reason why we couldn't necessarily go back, even though we had family there, was because of the money situation. Like, it's hard to bring 4 people back with you every year,
people,
you know?
and also to get them to come here. To this day, well, when I was 20, we finally got all 4 grandparents to come visit for a summer.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
They've made a few trips here now, but one of them died recently, and now they're a little too old to make that global commute.
Yeah.
We had one uncle visit, and that's it. My cousins have never been to America.
Wow. That's why it's like up to you to do that commute.
Yeah.
You know?
It's hard. It's hard.
is.
And like, I think that story is not told as often because you come here and you see a lot of people. Like, I have Indian friends, and it's so crazy. I'm like, damn, they got the whole family out here squatted up in Long Island, all turning into doctors, all being successful, all having these huge houses. That's not representative of all these other pockets of the diaspora, especially Bengali people, who also have a wide range of like, maybe some come and become taxi drivers or convenience store owners, but I felt like my family story is so specific. Like, it's just me and my mom and my dad. That's it.
No siblings.
Yeah. No, I have no siblings.
Damn,
I'm the only
that's
child.
crazy.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
think like that I don't know, you probably felt this, and your mom especially. It's like that first trip back to Bangladesh after a long time,
Yeah.
it makes you realize like I'm never waiting this long again to go back. Like
Yeah.
I went 4 months ago, and I've been like I want to go back this year again.
Yeah.
You know, and I went. It was my first time in 7 years that I went, but 7 years ago it was just it was like for a wedding. I was with like
Yeah.
aunts and uncles the whole time. I didn't have any free time to like go outside or do anything.
Yeah.
But this time I went. I hung out with my cousins outside. He would take me out at night. He'd take me into like events and stuff, and I would be like, yo, like, this is a completely new experience that like I don't want to wait again for this. Like it's such a beautiful experience to be there.
I can't even like put myself in the shoes, because like I can't imagine not seeing my brother for 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
like my mom saw her brother after like 16, 17 years, and it was like such an emotional moment. And
Very
then she
emotional.
went back and like we visited her college, and she saw her friends after like 20, 28 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's like half your life, you know? It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even put myself in those shoes.
Have you got
very surreal.
Have you gotten to see like your parents like villages and stuff?
Yeah, that's
like,
why
gone back to
I
them?
giggled because when I went to my dad's college. They like took me
Yeah.
1 year, but I've been back 5 times, and
Mhm.
each time has been different because you know you're at a different stage in life.
Yeah.
Like my first time back, I'm just a child,
Yeah.
barely had any. You know, it was jarring because
Mhm.
you know you're seeing all this homeless people and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then as a teenager, very angsty, I got my like PSP with me in the corner, just playing video games. And I'm also in my cousin's generation, one of the oldest.
Mm.
So there's this big gap, and so I was dealing with like all these little kids, no like relatability,
Mhm.
Yeah.
no one in my age group, except for one cousin, but she was like a girl, so there's nothing there to like talk about really. But then the more recent ones, 2014, 2017, and then last year 2023, have been very emotional, especially because relatives start dying, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And then now a lot of my younger cousins are like 20. So I have something to talk to them about. I can talk to them about Grand Theft Auto or fucking
Right.
Fast and Furious or
That's all it takes.
F1 or whatever the fuck.
Just games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, they love gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really
I
do.
just went, and one of my cousins took me to like this rooftop to hang out with like 4 of his friends, and they were like smoking cigarettes. I was like, yo, like y'all are cool, bro. Like, y'all are American. Like
That like
cooler
how
than
old
us.
are they?
he is 22, maybe.
I've yet to have an experience like that, and I don't know if this is a religious thing or an age thing or because my family, they're all dorks, but like I've yet to. The closest thing I've got was on this last trip. My cousins took me to this lake, and at the lake I saw kids on dates, kids smoking cigarettes,
Mm.
and my cousin would tell me stories about like secretly drinking and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like I kind of got a little taste of that, but I hear other stories of people going to
There's like clubs and
and
stuff,
and all that.
yeah.
And
No,
I've yet
bro.
to experience that in Bangladesh.
Yeah,
I've not
actually,
experienced that.
like I've been blessed to like make, and I'm sure you too, but like I've been blessed to make like some friends that are in like the art scene over there, and it's so cool seeing some of the events that they're
Yeah.
hosting. Like I have this
Yeah.
one friend that DJs, and like they just had this whole event in Cox's Bazaar where like they had like a whole DJ lineup, and like
Yeah.
it looked dope,
It's
and I was like, what
crazy.
the hell is happening
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I think it's hard to. One, it's such a big country. You know, it's
Yeah.
a small country, but it's a dense country.
Yeah.
And there's all these different pockets of culture. And coming from a Hindu family, I always wondered if there was some sort of cultural or religious barrier where my family couldn't really experience some of that stuff. Because I'll ask them, like, hey, do you know about this happening or about this DJ event or blah, blah, blah. And they don't really have that much information.
Yeah.
They knew about when, I think, Diplo came a few years ago. He's one of the first big DJs to play in Dhaka.
I
But
didn't
like,
even know he played there.
yeah, this is like pre-pandemic.
Mm.
But just like, you know, there's like an age disconnect and a cultural and also religious separation there. So I've been meaning to get like, you know, more of that experience that you're describing,
Yeah.
but unless you know someone or you go with them,
Yeah.
my trips have always been strictly family oriented. I'm just with my grandparents, talking to them and keeping them.
That's the
company,
priority,
you know?
It's
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
just any free time that you have to go
Yeah.
out. But yeah, so you were born in Bangladesh, Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
Illinois, Long Island.
Mhm.
You're probably into music the whole time.
Yeah.
When does the music become involved? You know, because
Yeah.
I'm not special. I've loved music my whole life, like all types of genres, and I've dabbled in producing or like playing around with the set or sitting in on like sessions with my friend, and I love it, but I don't love making it. I don't love producing. I love being in the room and I love soaking it up.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like pressing the buttons and
Yeah.
figuring all this, like
It's
that's a
technical.
lot,
It is a
so
lot,
it's like,
yeah.
what got you from liking music to like actually wanting to like
Yeah.
do it?
That's a great question. So I grew up playing violin. I was in orchestra my whole life. Did you guys ever play?
I played viola.
Viola? Okay.
Yeah, I played. I've been playing piano for 15 years now.
Cool.
I did a couple recitals. Yeah.
So my whole thing was I was my parents took me to lessons when I was 5, and I think in America it's usually in 3rd grade they usually integrate.
Like in school.
In school,
Yeah.
they're like, do you want to play an instrument? You pick your instrument, and then you go down the band, choir, or orchestra pipeline. At least the 3 or 4 different elementary schools I went to, they all had a very identical kind of system. So I got an early head start, which meant, objectively speaking, I was a really good violin player compared to everyone else. Pittsburgh, I was like concert master in middle school.
Oh, wow. That's
But-
a flex.
But when I moved to Long Island, I was competing with
Top
20
tier.
other people who are just like me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that a lot of these kids who are all Asian, they had a 2-year head start. They started when they were 3.
I'm not 3 years old.
But the crazy thing is that makes such a huge difference. Think
Yeah.
about the all the stuff you retain and learn at those ages. White
It's a
people become
cognitive thing, yeah.
bilingual. Yeah, exactly. Cognitive thing. They become bilingual, trilingual, whatever. So, I felt like I was also one of those kids that I didn't have to try, just like naturally succeeded. And then when I hit that age where I needed to try, I was like, oh my God, I have to try now. Have you guys experienced that?
Did you felt like
Do you know about gifted kid burnout?
yeah.
Oh, that was me.
I worked at a gifted and talented school a couple years ago, and the kids there are crazy where they start learning at like age 2 or 3, and like you have to take a test to get into the school, and they learn Latin, they learn chess, they learn robotics, they learn like a career day, and they're in like what grade 1 grade 1 like
No,
what are you
that's
learning?
real.
That's what I'm saying.
super
Like
real.
I feel like in Long Island and also in gifted and talented schools, like it's known to just get to the top, and then when you are like in the real world and you're competing with these kids, you're just like, oh, I'm not special, you know, because there are better kids out there.
I just like I still was in like the good orchestra, like the honors orchestra, whatever. But I ended up being like last chair by senior year.
Oh shit.
But what was happening was I was starting to get into American pop music and all that, and I led a funny life because my mom sheltered me a lot. And I think just based on my appearance, you could tell that I like rejected all that eventually. But I went 13 years without experiencing Western culture at all. I was listening to Bengali music and orchestra music and like the Lagan soundtrack.
Yeah.
And
do you feel like they did that like purposely? Or
100%. I've talked to them about it. They were always afraid I'd lose my like Bengali roots. But they were very. My mom specifically was just had a strong anti like you can't have an iPod. You're going to be listening to American music, and American music is filthy. Whatever. Blah blah blah. But of course, I would like the thing I would do in middle school is I had a. This might feel like super old, but I promise you it's not. We had like an AM/FM radio cassette player.
Okay.
Which I know is very like 80s maybe, but like it was like a relic from the 90s.
Yeah, we had that in
the
the house.
2000s.
Yeah.
So I would at like midnight I would be under the covers listening to like radio, like pop radio, top 40, right?
Damn, you really like rebelled hard
Other
too.
kids are like smoking weed and like partying. He's
Well, I
listening to
just
radio.
like I was listening to like 50 Cent and like Green Day and all that stuff. So I was soaking in all this like Western music, and then in my head I was like, oh, I'm in orchestra playing music that has been written hundreds of years old, and there's all this new modern music. And I was so enamored by the concept that I could potentially write music. And so that led me down the pipeline of picking up the guitar and then picking up GarageBand, trying to produce. And the way I got into producing was I wanted to be in a band because I loved Green Day, Fall Out Boy, like all these pop punk bands. But no one I knew liked that specific brand of rock music, I guess. So I had to learn how to play all the parts, the drums, the bass, sing.
Wow.
I don't really sing, but like I try to sing. And that's how I got into producing. Because I like when you're producing, you're doing all the parts of the music, you're recording, you're composing. So that really tickled me where I was like, oh, I could do all of this. By the time I got to college, what was happening in America was EDM was getting really big. And EDM was really reliant on making beats on a computer. So that's kind of where the intersection happened, where I had always loved synthesizer type music, rock music with synthesizer. You remember Cobra Starship?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Gone Bad, like that song.
I love them. Yeah.
That kind of, that or 303 or Owl City, like that kind of. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That kind of stuff I was super into, and so I did a lot of research on like how are they making this music? Like, what does it take to do this? And that pipeline eventually led me into like EDM world.
That's fascinating. Would you say it was like the consequence of like the way that your parents sheltered you is how much you got into music?
That's how everything is.
Like your trauma pushed you.
Forbidden fruit. You know, like, hey, don't do this. Oh, now I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, they're so cool now though. My mom is like so tapped in to everything. We'll be in the car. She'll be like, "Oh, is this the new Zayn Malik?"
Oh wow.
She's so
she on
like.
But that's what you have to do. You kind of have to like push their parameters to see how far you can go to just have the life you want, and then they get like more lenient. You know.
Did you feel the need to keep it all a secret like while you were making music, or
no?
were you always open to
They
them?
kind of witnessed it all.
Yeah.
I think their whole thing was like, you know, as long as your studies are doing all right, and I got into college early and all that, so they were okay with it. I think it was more so the decision to pursue it seriously is when they were like, whoa, like, move home. Yeah. I moved home after college. I lived with my parents for 6 years. So I was originally wanting to move into Brooklyn with one of my college roommates. He became a nurse.
Oh wow.
But then that didn't really work out, and so my parents were like, listen, if you want to do this music thing, you need to like come home and live with us, and like we're not gonna like, we'll support you, but only to an extent.
Yeah.
I think the immigrant support system oftentimes comes in the form of, we will feed you, we will put a roof over your head, which is nice because I think a lot of white people don't really have that.
Yeah. But at least they were supportive to the point where like you didn't have to pay for like your own place or like you know, be a starving artist. Like they still they didn't kick you out. Like they offered their home, you know.
That privilege I is very near and dear to me. I think that comes in so many different forms for so many different people, and the way your parents can support you, it comes in so many different ways. But they weren't at the point where they're like, oh, we'll pay your rent. That wasn't I was not at that level quite yet.
It was like, show, like, prove it to us type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because as the stuff. So this year's actually 10 years of Dry Wolf, by the way.
Oh, shit. Happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Another reason why I wanted to do more stuff like this is to kind of like delve into the story. But I started Dry Wolf in 2014.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I was 22 years old.
Wow.
Happy birthday to Dry Wolf. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was April 2014. And then actually this weekend is another anniversary. It's so Glastonbury was this weekend. I don't know if you saw on like TikTok and everything. 10 years ago, Skrillex played one of my remixes at Glastonbury.
Awesome.
I forgot the name of the song, but
Ease My Mind.
Was it
Ease My Mind?
Ease My Mind. That's what it was. Damn.
I did like a trap remix.
Awesome.
Can I ask the background? I'm just unfamiliar. The background, the name Jai Wolf. The origins, the lore. I need the lore.
It's a funny lore.
What was the original one?
No Pets Allowed. What's the transition? I gotta know.
Okay, so No Pets Allowed was one of my first DJ names and projects. It was just like, it was around the time when all these like aggressive DJ names existed. It was like Skrillex, Flux Pavilion, Excision, like very harsh,
very in your
face names. And I was like, I want a very goofy, unserious name.
Juxtaposition.
And I had a BlackBerry where I would write down potential band names. So I had a whole list. And one of them was just No Pets Allowed because I saw like a sign. I should just buy the 53rd and 6th halal cart.
Yeah.
I like remember that night. I remember we went to see a show at like Roseland Ballroom, which doesn't exist anymore. But we went to get halal after. I saw a convenience store that said No Pets Allowed. I just wrote into my BlackBerry.
Calm.
But I was doing like remixes, mashups, like very unseriously. I was like, all right, No Pets Allowed is gonna be my name. And then one day I was like, man, like I think I could make something out of this. Like maybe I should have a more serious name.
Switch it up.
And did you guys ever watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
I have not. I need to.
I feel so bad when everyone asks us that. We're like, no.
I'm so sorry.
You're not missing out because it did not end well.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
But there's like a creature in the show called direwolf. It's like they're the main family. Their pets. They're called direwolves, right? It's like, that's a sick name. Like maybe I should be direwolf. That sounds awesome. And my manager at the time was like, it sounds like a metal band. Like, I don't think that's on brand for what you're doing. Why don't you workshop it? So I was like, all right, let me workshop this name. Yeah. So I thought really long and hard about it. I was like, all right, well, what are some popular names out there? Like, all right, there's Frank Ocean, like John Legend, Alicia Keys. Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll have a name and then like a thing.
Yeah.
Like Frank Ocean, right? So I made a whole list. And I was like,
Everything
well,
that
That's all it
rhymes.
takes.
yeah, well, then I was like, yo, I can't have like a white name. I'm not white. I'm gonna have
Right.
an identity crisis if I was like Mike Wolf, you know. Can't be Mike Wolf.
Michael
Today
is
on the
crazy.
podcast. We got
So,
Mike.
so I looked up
Michael Wolf.
top 10 Indian baby names.
Yeah.
No,
And
not
that's
the
how we
baby
got it.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
And then I
going.
found Jay, and I was like, you know what? I don't have any friends named Jay.
Yeah.
So imagine if you had a friend and he was like, I'm gonna be like MC Mashnun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? You'd
right.
be like, that's weird. Why are you choosing my name? Right?
Exactly.
So I was like, all right, I don't have any friends named Jay.
Yeah, you ran with
Damn,
it.
you really thought about this.
And then
It
and
took
then
some
I
work.
intentionally chose Jai as the phonetic pronunciation because it's like Jay-Z, Jay Sean,
Yeah.
Jay
J. Cole.
Sean,
So I was like, I'll be Jai.
Good choice. Good
And then
pick.
so Dire Wolf, Jai Wolf. I'm like, that's pretty close.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you got it.
And then I was like, I looked up the Google SEO stuff, and there's no one had the name
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He did,
No,
the,
that-
he did the work.
except one lady
Oh,
from
no.
Omaha, Nebraska. She got arrested for
Oh.
like
shit.
Oxy or Percocets or something. She still got her mugshot. You gotta dig deep now.
Her name is Jai Wolf.
Her name is Jai Wolf. If you
Oh.
look up,
Spelled the same.
spell the same exact
Oh my
same.
gosh! Shout out.
So this is 2014. If you Googled it, she came up.
right. That's
Dang.
But I took all the socials and planned the rebrand and
Should be okay.
So
yeah.
you really
Mm.
wrote over
Yeah.
her story.
I'm a
Yeah.
big believer of the SEO stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is any
absolutely.
advice to any new artist, because like
Yeah.
if you pick a name that is hard to Google, it's over.
It's done.
over.
It's
That-
over.
yeah,
It's done.
you can be the best artist, but if
Yeah.
you don't have the
Can't look 'em up
searchability,
on
It's
Spotify.
really difficult.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
it was the same
Yeah.
thing for me when I
Yeah.
came
Change your
up with
name.
my brand name Labyrinth Ave.
It's
I
a
was-
sick name, by the way.
Thank you. I was in the,
Fire.
I was people don't
Yeah.
know the story, but I was literally in the city, same thing as you. I saw street, and I was like street avenue, Labyrinth Avenue street, like, and I was like, oh, avenue.
Yeah.
And we were in
Yeah.
like what Bryant Park or Union Square or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's literally, and I wanted something in the beginning that
Yeah.
had like a maze, like, you know, like a weird cryptic feeling to it,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
just put
yeah.
it together, and that's it.
We call her Labby for short.
That's awesome.
Labby.
Yeah.
Only you call me Labby, bro.
Nah.
But
yeah.
I remember I was stalking your TikTok, but it's your pinned video, and you
Okay.
were talking about your Coachella experience,
Yeah.
and like you were paying homage to your mom, and like how you were a classic violinist or
Violinist, yeah.
Violinist, okay.
Violinist.
And how your mom would make you translate that into like Western
Yeah.
notation, right?
Yeah.
So she is still such a big part of your story
Yeah.
and how you came up to be who you are now.
Yeah.
But you're talking about how it was hard for you to transition into like a professional career.
Yeah.
Like how would you, like what were the struggles of you kind of making this into your main thing, you know?
I have a very rare story, I think, because things happened really fast.
Mm.
I graduated NYU at 2013.
What'd you major in?
Marketing communication.
Oh shit!
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I also, this is a long story, but I actually didn't graduate.
Mm.
I had all my credits, but I was in the Gallatin School for individualized study. I don't know if you
Mhm.
have friends who went to that school.
Mm.
I don't know what that
But
is.
you have to do like a what they call a colloquium. It's like a dissertation at the end, and I just
Mhm.
never did it. So despite having all my credits,
That's crazy.
I wasn't allowed to walk. So a lot of stuff happened that year. Like
Yeah.
I had to move home. My parents, they were disappointed, but they almost had no energy to like be so upset at me.
Yeah.
They're like, just come home. You'll figure it out. It's okay. We're
Mhm.
here for you. So they had thankfully a lot of love and nurtured support there. After 1 year, I rebranded to Jai Wolf in 2014.
Mm.
And then that's when things just kind of like that shift led to so many like it was like a domino effect.
Mm.
So I did that Skrillex remix within a couple of months of being Jai Wolf, and then immediately he was playing it in
Yeah,
all his
yeah.
sets. That turned into like meeting him, and then that turned into signing the remix to his label, and then suddenly I was getting booked for shows.
Mm.
I played at like Webster Hall, I was like opening
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah, I saw
awesome.
that.
That
yeah.
led to me meeting my agent, who was which is so crazy because back then he was like he was a few years older. He was doing Odesza,
Mhm.
Oh shit.
and Odesza, they were playing like Bowery Ballroom, like 500 cap. This past weekend they just played a stadium in Boulder.
Awesome.
So just like
Wow.
having Jay is my agent. He's incredible. He's been with me for 10 years now. But
Mhm.
like he was kind of growing the Odesza brand, and then I ended up meeting Odesza in Seattle in 2015
Mhm.
when I was playing my first show there at a really small nightclub called Q Nightclub. Got drinks with Harrison from Odesza.
Mm.
They had just played one of the tents at Coachella that year, and they were still kind of on the up and up. They're not like what they are today, like this giant arena electronic act. And Harrison from Odesza is like, hey, like we're starting a label, like we'd love for you to submit something. So that summer, I submitted Indian Summer.
Damn.
Oh, yeah, the
That's
greatest
all it
hit.
took.
Yeah.
Just
And
like
Indian,
that.
Yeah, and it was their third release on their label. And I was just like, this is a random beat.
Yeah.
And I made it because I had a friend Nabil who's also Bengali. He'd always tell me like, hey man, you should use some South Asian influence in some of your music. Like
Told you early on.
Yeah, he was really trying to get me to do stuff like that. So I made it so like without thinking too much.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it just turned into this thing where it was in commercials and movies and all this stuff for almost 3 years straight. So left college, moved back home in 2013, started Dry Wolf 2014.
Yeah.
Skrillex played the remix out that same year. 2015 was Indian Summer.
Yeah.
So it was just this
incredible. Like whirlwind.
Sorry?
So it was like a whirlwind. It just kept
Whirlwind.
going.
It was very like hard to recreate that.
Yeah.
I think now the equivalent is like going viral on TikTok.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, it was a 5-year just upward trajectory kind of thing. And Indian Summer, the equivalent of going viral today, it was reaching the highest daily plays 3 years after the release.
Wow.
So in 2018, it was peaking in 2018.
How does it do that? You know?
So back then, like, because there wasn't a vehicle like today, like TikTok, where what was happening to Indian Summer across 3 to 5 years can happen to someone within 6 months, which is insane. Like $1 Million Baby or that Artemis song, I like the way you kiss me, that song. That was happening to me, but across like 5 years, nonstop. So it was in How to Get Away with Murder. During a sex scene.
Oh
right?
my god!
It's so crazy. I remember watching it and I had no idea that that was
I used to love that shit.
Yeah, I had no idea. I remember you posted a TikTok about it. You were like,
Damn.
I didn't know it was gonna be on this, but this were
So it was in that. Then it was in a GoPro thing, and that was like, you know how like there's trends, like people do makeup transition trends to songs. Because it was in a GoPro commercial, it ended up being used for a lot of people when they're with travel vlogging.
When they
go to Thailand or skydiving or whatever, they're using Indian Summer. So this is like YouTube core, Instagram core, vlog core type soundtrack,
like Jay Alvarez type of stuff.
And then it was in like Kobe Bryant's like last game. He walked out to the song one night. It was on American Idol, like for an intro or something
like that.
Wow. So you had no idea that these were gonna go on those, and you found out
no
later?
they sync is so it's called sync, that industry where they license music for stuff like that. It's just a short turnaround. There's sometimes where they hit you up a month before, a week before. Like the American Idol one was crazy. It was day of. We got the email in the morning, we want to use this, and then by at night it was on TV.
Oh shoot.
And they give you like the price ranges totally vary, but it was popping up in all these different places. Even the most recent one was it was in Miss Marvel a couple of years ago.
Oh shoot. Wow. So it like just comes up like years later.
It's still going.
That's incredible.
That one was I used to be a big Marvel fan.
Used to.
That was
what happened after Avengers?
I feel like it's kind of downhill after a while.
That's true. You watch Avengers in theater?
Yeah, I was like the midnight showing type kind of guy.
Wow.
Thursday night.
You dressed up
Thursday
as, like,
night, 9
a
p.m.
No, not that far. I never went to Comic Con.
I know. I asked him who dressed up as a Marvel character.
No, it was a cool scene because she like puts on the suit and they're playing Indian Summer. So that's like one of the best uses of the song. This is 22, summer of 22, a couple years ago. But so back then, the song was just on such an upward trajectory. I started to go on tour, put an EP out and then an album. And I did my first album tour, like national tour in 2019.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So that was 5 years nonstop touring.
Damn. And you were still living at home at this point?
Living with my parents. I was saving a lot of money. And then that year was so crazy because we did Terminal 5 in New York. And then we did 2 nights at this venue in LA called The Shrine. We did 10,000 tickets, which is crazy.
Amazing.
This is 2015?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
I came home and I was at my parents' house. I was like, why the fuck am I at my parents' house right now?
It was like such a high, and then you come back.
It just,
but it keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
You know,
no, it did.
you know,
100%, and I love that. And like, still seeing my high school friends and all that stuff, and like that was a big part of it too, for sure. But there was definitely I was like, wait, my career is going one way, but why am I still with my parents? That year I moved out in 2019.
That's all you needed. That's the time you needed.
So you put out Indian Summer in 2015, your EPs in 2016, and that gets widespread acclaim. And like you're working on your first album. How does like your perspective on making music change throughout this time? Because like early on, it's like you're doing it, you're making whatever you like, and of course you're still making whatever you like, but now you know that like you have eyes on you, you have people like looking forward to like what you're making next. So like how does that change like your creative process for like actually making the music?
It's a really, really good question.
Yeah.
My number one thing that I struggled with for a really long time was what to do after Indian Summer, because it had become this runaway thing that I had not expected. And I think a lot of musicians experience this to varying degrees, where you have something that blows up and you just have no control over it. It's now the people's song. It's not like your song anymore.
And the people know you as just that.
As that song. Maybe they come see you at a show and they want to just see that song.
Yeah.
And I never thought that this was the song that fully represented me. I thought it was just a song that I made almost without much thinking, right? And to be defined by genre or style of music is kind of tricky sometimes, because we are ever-changing people. We're never the same kind of person or whatever, and I never wanted to be boxed in. And then I always felt like using the South Asian identity or sonic palettes, it was never my goal from day one. It was just something I tried for fun, and then it just happened to be this whole thing. And that's why a lot of the music after Indian Summer, is more synth wave or synth pop based or guitar driven or whatever with Cure to Loneliness. I was trying all these things that I really liked. I loved indie music. I loved music with synth stuff, and I loved EDM. So I kind of started to do that kind of stuff a bit more and lean into that. I never got any like backlash or anything. No one was ever like, you need to make more Indian Summer type stuff. Which is great. I'm deeply appreciative of everyone who's kind of stayed along.
I feel like that's what
ride,
happens to a lot of artists that
when you're like
get
down.
something big. It's like they just want like part 2 of that.
And that happens to anybody regardless of the genre they're in. The South Asian thing is so interesting because now with TikTok, I follow so many incredible artists, and there's this big spectrum of like, how can you incorporate your South Asian identity to varying degrees. Some people really dive in. Some people kind of use it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I think that's the cool thing about it. It should not be a monolith. It should not just be one thing. For me, it was like who I am as a person is the story, but the music is more about my personal taste and my personal interest.
I remember I saw like a TikTok video that you made, and it was kind of like a hot take because people were kind of weird in the comments, but you basically talked about how there are writers like Anik Khan, there's Dhruv and things like that, where they are South Asian, but the forefront of their art isn't the fact that they're South Asian. So you were kind of saying that like South Asian people usually support people that are also South Asian, but mostly if they like present that in their artwork. But you were kind of saying, they should also just be themselves, and that should have support as well, And I think that's a really good take, because I'm like, the fact that we're Bangladeshi, it's a great asset. It's a great additive that we're Bangladeshi, but don't support me only because we're Bangladeshi,
But I also, it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of decades long context. I think so much about the state of the music industry and the existence of South Asian artists, and I want more of it, like my whole thing about being on TikTok is keeping an eye on fresh new talent who I think can reach new heights even higher than wherever I've been. I think over the last few years there've only been a handful of people who've kind of like made that jump forward, specifically in the diaspora. I'm not talking about people from let's say the UK or India. I'm talking about the American diaspora. There's just been it's been difficult to get people to make that jump, especially like in regards to my story, to go from being a typical college graduate to moving to my parents to becoming a touring musician. That is really hard to do for a lot of people, and I think for a lot of brown creatives, we talked about this earlier about like wanting to start the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's that mental barrier,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I see a lot more East Asians making the jump and not enough South Asians. I think it's bubbling. Of course, there are so many incredible artists here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next step is like, how do we get them on tour?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really hard thing to do. First of all, the whole representation thing is a very tricky line, and I think I've made TikToks about this
Yeah.
too. Or I've
Mhm.
talked about it where I've said this so many times. It's like you don't want to lead with it. That shouldn't be the first thing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but it also shouldn't be completely avoided.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about me leaning into the being Bangladeshi and stuff. It's so funny because I never thought about it because one, the language wasn't there, the discourse wasn't there. And if you like knew me, if you like grew up with me, you would know that I was like very, very, very Bengali, very
Yeah.
Bangladeshi, and very tapped in, especially compared to a lot of kids who I grew up with who
Mm-hmm.
maybe felt more attuned to black culture or hip hop
Mhm.
culture, you know, which is very common amongst a lot of brown people.
Yeah.
But when I was making music, I almost didn't think too much about who I was. Even when I first played Coachella in 2015, I wasn't thinking like, I'm Bangladeshi and I'm here.
Yeah.
That wasn't even going through my head
Yeah.
at all at that time because one, the discourse wasn't there, and then two, just everything's moving so fast. I'm just here with the music, right? But now when I see the disparity, when I see that there aren't enough doors open and there's not like a path laid forward, that's when I'm like, there needs to be a correction, and then you do have to acknowledge the representation thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really tricky about the music industry is that it's not just about having good product, because you can have really good product. You also need people to recognize that the product is good, and sometimes like the white lens will not recognize that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the industry, the way it functions, I mean, you have managers, you have agents, you have promoters, you have this whole ecosystem of how all that stuff works. And I thankfully have had such an incredible team who have sort of opened all these doors for me. But what I'm seeing is that that's not happening to a lot of other people. And
Right.
sometimes that takes someone like me or someone who has like an established seat at the table to
like
pull up a
connect.
chair
yeah.
for other people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That, I think, historically has been hard for a lot of brown people. I think that
Mhm.
our culture is one of the pillars is like there can only be one. We're super competitive. Oh, like your kid went to Harvard. Well, my kid also needs to go to Harvard
Yeah.
and do X, Y, Z. And
Yeah.
that's always been kind of central to our identity,
Yeah.
competing
Yeah.
with our own
That,
community. and
yeah,
all
that's
that stuff,
that's such a big downfall for our people because, like, if we're being honest, like a lot of us hate to see like another one
Always.
of us win, and
That's
it
real.
sucks
Like you
because
support someone to a certain extent, but if they're doing better than you, then it's like
Yeah.
let me take back that support.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think also on top of that, like a lot of us were grown up with the fear of like failure.
Yeah.
And so if we do try to do something that's eccentric or like out of the norm,
Yeah.
and there's like this fear that we won't make it because we don't have representation, it's like
Yeah.
all, intertwined. It's like there's no point in trying even,
That's so real. That's very, very, very real. I think that's ingrained with us. I see that less in East Asians, especially in the landscape.
Yeah.
Like in the last couple of years, I see more rising East Asian TikTok kids
Mm-hmm.
turning into touring acts and not enough South Asian ones. Not because
Mhm.
necessarily they have the fear, but that is definitely something that permeates the larger,
Yeah.
group of kids who want to be creative.
Yeah, we just had Munzi on the podcast, and she was talking about how with her partner being East Asian and Chinese, she sees that in their culture they're a lot more like go for it, and
Yep.
they're a lot more
business oriented.
more business oriented,
Mhm.
more cutthroat, and they are
Oh, yeah.
obviously family oriented, but because they're more on the rise in comparison to South Asians, and also they have
Big
been here
momentum
sooner. Yeah, they
for
have more
them.
momentum.
Yeah.
They're able to just like go for the thing that they want, you
Yep.
know. Whereas South Asian people, yeah, we have support. We are kind of like building each other up while we also go up, but we're not as like we don't really think about ourselves as much like that, you know. We're trying to like sometimes bring the chair to the table for other people, but also we're trying to go for ourselves, you know. There isn't like
Yeah.
a unity in some way.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see like that juxtaposition.
Yeah, because we all got the survival mentality. It's always like I gotta take care of me first, and like if I give someone else the opportunity, like I do hope that they make it, but like I also have to, like, I'm my own priority. I
Yeah.
gotta make sure like I'm good first. But yeah, there are a lot of South Asian artists on the rise. A lot of them are popping. A lot of them are really, really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about EDM a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
listen, like I had like I'm not gonna call it a phase, but
Uh-huh.
I think it was like what got me really into music. Like I grew up listening to hip hop a lot, and when
Yeah.
I got into high school is when I started getting to like my little EDM bag, right?
Okay,
And I
okay.
wanted to tell a little story.
Sure, yeah.
In 2016,
Uh-huh.
I was a senior in high school, and my best friend at the time, his name was Rakeen. He was also Bengali, tall Bengali. You don't see them often. 6'3" Bengali.
Yo, that's true.
And he used to DJ with Soham, actually. My best friend today, his name is Soham. He's Indian. Rakeen used to DJ
I
with
didn't know
Soham.
that.
They had a DJ duo. They were called Nova Bass. And he's the one that got me into like EDM. And it was Eid al-Adha, like the second Eid in 2016, where there was a Cascade concert in Orlando. It was a Cascade and Hardwell. They were playing together in Orlando,
Yeah.
and it was on Eid.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yo, we have to go." And I was like, "I can't. I'm going to the farm, bro. I can't skip the farm. It's Eid. I have to go to the farm." He
You
was
gotta
like, "Nah,
sacrifice the
we gotta go
goats."
to the concert, right?"
Yeah.
So I make up some lie to my mom about like I got homework to do or whatever. I'm going to Cascade. I'm going to the Cascade concert. It was $20. It was dumb cheap. It was at
That's
like
crazy.
the fairgrounds,
Yeah.
and I go there, and somewhere during the set, they play Indian Summer. They were playing like a bunch of songs. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I didn't know the song, but my friend Rakeen did, and he was
Okay,
like,
okay.
"Yo, like this is Jabo." I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "Nah, like blah blah." So that's my first time I ever heard your song.
Hey.
And,
Like one of the openers, or your Nova Bass played it?
no, my friends didn't play. We were in the crowd.
Oh, you were in the crowd.
Yeah, we were in the crowd.
Someone that
I-
night played it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
It might have been an opener.
He's like, he
That's
doesn't
so
know
I don't
anything
remember
about
who
this.
played it. It was somebody. They played it. I don't think they were playing like their own music. They were just
Oh,
like
okay.
playing like whatever songs.
Yeah.
And I heard it, and it was because I
I would
skipped the
love to
farm.
hear that in person. Like
And
I've
so
only heard it.
so I
you know?
brought this up to talk about I feel like the point of electronic music is the live experience.
Yeah.
I love hearing it. I mean, obviously everyone loves hearing it live. Have you had the opportunity to? You have
No.
had the opportunity.
No,
We
I
gotta-
know.
we need to.
I know.
But we've all experienced it in the crowd. I would love to hear like what it's like to be playing
for like
electronic music on
50,000
stage
people,
for
bruh.
goddamn how many. This man has played Coachella. This man has played
Yeah.
Red Rocks. This man has played all across the world.
Yeah, because I don't think we've ever had a guest that like performed in front of that many
yeah.
people.
So like,
Um,
do you feel like I mean, I'm sure you do, but like the pressure of like making this like a moment for like these
Yeah.
people, like how much this could mean for
Like
like
a
some
Long
of these
Island
people
boy
out
to
there.
that.
Like, what's that like?
Yeah. I love live music. I mean, just from playing violin and being in orchestra, I've
Mhm.
always loved being on stage. And with electronic music, I mean, it's this whole other dimension. And
Mm.
I used to look up to artists like Odesza and artists like Porter Robinson. They have these big like audio visual shows. Like the visuals and the lights were a big part of it. So as we kind of like scaled up our show and everything, it's become sort of this production, this big production, right? So like the Elsewhere show this weekend was kind of like a back to the roots, like me and Dex, no
Mhm.
production, like very intimate. But like when we were at the Mirage, like there's that big wall,
Mm-hmm.
and like we have this whole light show and everything, and
Yeah.
it's just I love that side of creativity. I love maximalism and all that stuff. I love pop music. Like I do a lot of research with like even like Taylor Swift. Like I was watching her Eras thing a few weeks ago. It's like 3 hours long, and there's so much to learn from that world. So I take all that stuff and I kind of try to bring it to my show and kind of do it in my own way. But I love that side of electronic music. I know like people like Daft Punk and Justice were definitely early on in the world of like live electronic music. And what the other thing that's so cool about electronic music is that there's so many different ways to do a performance. You could be very minimal, could just be you and Dex and no visuals, or you could have like Odesza, they have like a drum line and they have like horns players and all like crazy pyro and all this stuff, right? So I like that sort of freedom. I like that it could be this spectacle kind of thing, and it's just it's a way to tickle all these other sides of creativity. I used to do a lot of like film editing and stuff.
Okay.
No, wow.
And I love like having visuals and editing them to music and that aspect of the show. And it's just fun. It's like this huge puzzle and bringing it together and working with like a big team and putting it to bringing it to life. Like that's some of my biggest joys. Comes from that.
I think my first time experiencing that, I saw Porter Robinson sometime in high school. He
crazy.
came to Orlando, and
World's Tour 2014.
I think so. I don't remember.
Do you remember the year?
Oh my god. It It might have been
2014. It might have been Worlds. If it was 2021, it was
no, it
Nurture
wasn't
Tour.
2021.
Okay.
It had. Are those the only years that he went on tour? It probably
Well,
was the 2014 one.
Maybe he did the Shelter tour in 2016, but that was with Maddie on. I don't know if
It
you saw that
wasn't.
one.
It wasn't.
It was just
2016.
Porter?
It was. Yeah, it was just Porter.
When were you in high school?
I was in high school from 2013 to 16.
Yeah, you
So
might have
it
seen
was
the
probably-
Worlds tour. That
Yeah.
was his first
Yeah,
live.
yeah,
You
yeah.
got
That
the
shit was
anime
I
video.
love
Yes.
when you know
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
so it was
Sorry,
Worlds
again,
tour.
Yes, that one.
Did he have
that
drumsticks?
whole album.
Do you have drumsticks?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it was a Worlds
That
tour.
whole album, bro.
That shit changed my life. I
That
saw that
shit changed my life.
in 20. I saw that at Terminal 5, 2014.
Man.
If you dig on my
That's
Instagram,
crazy.
this is
This is lore.
funny.
This is
Actual
lore.
lore.
If you dig on my Instagram, you'll see the post of when I was at that show.
Oh,
And you'll see
shit.
that I waited after the show an hour to meet him.
Damn.
Oh,
I had just started Drywolf, so I was like nobody. And I met him after the show. I was a big fan. That show changed my life because I was like,
Mm.
oh, I want my show to look like that.
yeah.
Fast forward to 2020, I got to do Nurture Tour with him.
Wow.
So I opened for him on that tour.
Jeez.
And then that was just like peak. You know, it's
Yeah.
like the guy
It's-
that I
yeah.
looked up to. Getting a tour with him was a big deal.
Yeah. How you top that?
It's
hard.
It's crazy because it's like when you're following people and you're looking up to people for years, and then, I mean, you don't even think that you can get a follow back, but then
Yeah.
you start working with them. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
Crazy. On
Yeah.
tour with him. Yeah.
I can't even imagine that feeling. But yeah,
Yeah.
you saw him in concert, and then what?
No. I mean, that's my
Oh,
story.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great experience.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome to hear. Like you don't really see a lot of brown people in EDM events.
Right.
Like, I think
Yeah.
at my shows, definitely very mixed, very diverse. But
Yeah.
you'll see far more East Asians going to a rave.
Oh
than,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
South
yeah.
Asian.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a meme. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
but,
I've actually.
like Elenium. Like
Wh- wh-
Elenium has
oh,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
East Asian
Yeah.
fans,
I've actually
you know?
researched this a little bit. I think it
Yeah.
has to do with you know, kind of like you, just like the
the-
sheltered
yeah.
being at home, the helicopter parents, and like a EDM concert, like a festival is like. It's just freedom. It's just
Mm.
like, you know, you can like lose yourself in the music. That's why
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I used to I've been to EDC Orlando a few times,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
like it's always filled with Asian people.
Yep.
And like
Yep.
I was like confused in the beginning, but like I get it. It's like
Mhm.
it's such a freeing experience to like be
It's
there,
your
and it's
way
like
to, like, show
yeah,
up,
yeah, I
well,
get
like
it, man.
culturally, also, on the topic of helicopter parents,
Yeah.
I feel like the culture difference between East and South Asian is like you will have rebelliousness. It'll come in different forms. Like I see
Mhm.
you have a tattoo and I've got
Mhm.
tattoos. It'll come in different ways.
Yeah.
Even you like living on your own
Yeah,
and living
yeah,
out
yeah.
your parents. That's one way of kind of breaking out the norm.
Mhm.
But I do think with South Asian parents, they are usually more helicopter-ish. So
Yeah.
it's harder to kind of like get away with stuff or going to a rave or whatever, drinking, whatever,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Whereas with East Asians, because they come from kind of drinking culture,
Mhm.
Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, they drinking culture is a bit more ingrained in that world.
Mhm.
So I think when it comes to, let's say, partying, to use a very general word, like it's easier for them to kind of get away with it. I think
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
brown culture, unless you're a Sikh,
Yeah.
they drink a lot,
Yeah.
is different, and especially from Muslim country or
Yeah.
more conservative country in general.
Mhm.
So I think the when you relate that to ticket buying and consumers, I always say this: you're more likely to find a brown person at a Drake concert than at a rave.
Yeah,
That's just kind of how it,
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
ends up shaking out at the end of the day.
The brown
Yeah.
boys love the Drake.
yeah, dude.
They do, and
Me.
Nav, of course.
Yeah,
Of
shout out that
course.
boy. First brown boy to get popping.
Yeah.
Who
Actually,
Drake?
he was.
Nah.
Yeah, he got popping
Nah,
before
you know,
now.
it's Jay
Jay Sean.
Yeah.
Jay
Oh,
Sean
yeah.
was the
First brown boy to
OG.
get
My
popping.
fault.
And Nav.
Yeah,
Nav now.
Navraj. That
Nav-
boy, need him on the
Navraj.
pod one day.
Yeah.
Calling you out. He'll be sitting here one day.
Before
Uh,
we go into like the fun questions, like you had Skrillex remix your music.
I
Ha-
remixed Skrillex.
Oh, you
Yeah.
and then he played it, right?
He was playing it out.
Yeah. So how did that happen? Because I was reading up about it. I know
Yeah.
it like happened in the dorm. We had like a connect,
Yeah.
but it's like you don't hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before you answer, I think it's so cool how he's still at like the very top of like the EDM game. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like lost track of things and like during the pandemic or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I just didn't listen to much electronic music. But like
Yeah.
Skrillex was the same for like many people. He was the first
Mhm.
person that like really got me
Entry
into
point.
EDM.
Yeah.
Like and like I started listening to dubstep like super early on. And it was
Yeah.
because of him. And to see that he's still like on top and he's still like
Yeah.
he just did the song with the Aha to
Fred
Dream
again, How to Dream. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Priya, like
Yeah.
that's dope. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
You know why? It's because he didn't just stick with dubstep. He moved on to like house music
Yeah.
and just EDM in general. You
Yeah.
know, he, trap and all that stuff, and worked with Justin Bieber and did
Mhm.
all those cuts. Where Are You Now and
Mhm.
and Sorry. So he's just jack of all trades. And he's always kept himself relevant. Shout out to Skrillex. So yeah, in terms of the email stuff. So in electronic music, I guess there are two forms of doing a show. You have live electronic music. So like, you know, the artists I mentioned, Odesza, Justice, Porter Robinson, they're playing all their music and it's done live, right? When you DJ, you're kind of curating music, right? You could play some of your own stuff, but you're going to play other people's music.
Yeah.
So when Skrillex is playing a show, like in 2014, he is playing his big hits, and then he's also going to play other people's music.
Yeah.
He's going to play derivatives of his own music, going to play remixes of his own music. And there's a lot of incentive there because in the DJ world, that's the community. You're playing other people's records, putting them on, and it's a way to like showcase new talent, you know? So what's common is like you do promo emails where like people will send you music to potentially play out. So, you know, it's Skrillex, he's definitely getting dozens and dozens and dozens of emails.
Yeah.
The person that I knew, his name is Stefan. He used to be Skrillex's videographer and used to shoot videos for him. He was also a DJ. He knew one of my friends who was at NYU, and I had met him one day in my friend's dorm room, and then we took the train, like we took the subway somewhere. I think I was going to Penn Station, he was going to somewhere else, but we were on the same line. And then on the train, I realized that he was was associated with Skrillex. I didn't know that in the dorm room. And then he said something super casual. He's like, "Oh, like I heard about your Skrillex remix. Like I could send it to him."
Oh shoot!
Damn.
And in my
Just
head,
like
I'm just like he's just blowing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I didn't believe it. And then I got a tweet from him. Like he said, "Sick remix" or something. Like I think he like that was the first like mention.
Yeah.
So I knew that he was aware of it.
Yeah.
That it hit his inbox. He liked it.
That's crazy.
I didn't know he was gonna play it out.
Yeah.
So eventually he got the file, and then like he was playing it in his DJ sets that whole summer.
Oh my
He
god!
played it.
Wow.
Glastonbury, and then almost every damn festival from June to end of the year.
That's crazy.
And then he was on tour, and I remember the tour he did in the fall. The two dates that were close to New York were DC and Syracuse. And me and my management, we were like, "What's the most likely place to like say hi?" I was like, "Probably Syracuse." He's like, "Who the fuck?
Who's going
who
in
in the
Syracuse?
music industry lives in Syracuse?"
Yeah.
So we drove up, and we were in talks with Skrillex's team at that time, and they gave us tickets, and we thought we were just gonna be out in GA.
Yeah.
And we realized they were like backstage, like
Wow.
access tickets, and
It's like that.
he was so nice.
Yeah.
He like hung out with me and like talked to me, and I was fucking so nervous. I
Right.
can't believe this is 10 years ago. I was just like a baby. I think that picture is also still up on the Instagram.
I think I
Yeah.
saw it.
You
Yeah.
scroll really far back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just very surreal. He's like notoriously nice. I think any music person you talk to, his reputation precedes him of being like a really, really down to earth, really nice guy. Will give attention to like anybody. And I don't really like, I've never really developed a friendship with him, but I've run into him 4 or 5 times after that, between 2014 and 16. And he's always been super nice. I don't think I've seen him since 2016 though.
Yeah.
Wow.
That boy busy.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that
just-
boy.
Dude, he's worldwide
here.
working with Justin Bieber.
But isn't that
Like,
amazing how like someone that big like gave a smaller artist
Yeah.
like you a chance and it literally
Yeah.
changed your entire career?
That's why the Aha to Dream stuff is so cool, because even 10 years later, this guy is still keeping track of like awesome artists globally and like doing tracks with them and working with them and putting them on. And like, I love that consistency. I love that like he hasn't changed as a curator. I think that's like one of the jobs as a DJ is to curate, put people on. So like working with Aha to Dream and Priya Raghu is so huge, and he's always been tapped in like that, which is awesome.
Show some love, yo. So someone that you're into, show them some love. That can mean a lot. You know, even if you don't have much to offer, you know, a lot of times it's just, you know, some helpful words, some words of kindness. It could really
it's
go
such
a
a
long
trickle
way.
effect too, like the fact that he gave you so much love in the beginning and now like you're showing love to like smaller artists and like encouraging them. The fact that you had like FS Yusuf to push you to write, and like it just really trickles down into the entire community. You know, just a small support. Like,
that's why like
wild.
when I see something that really like my friend Sayak, I don't know if you've seen him, Sayak Das. He's
I've seen his name. Yeah.
his Bengali dude. This guy's a rock star.
Yeah.
He's a
I swear.
musician.
He's a musician. I
Mm.
swear to God, he's next up. He's someone who, you know, Rajid.
Yeah, we just met him the other
Dose?
day
Yeah.
Yeah,
after
we
your
went to
show.
his.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. At his
on
party.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Saturday.
awesome! Yeah,
Yeah.
Man, I wish I was there. All my friends were there.
Yeah.
I was in DC, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
well,
playing a huge concert.
Should have
Sorry.
put out. Should have put out.
Shout out to
Should-
DC. I love
shout out
DC.
those.
Not unfortunately. That
Yeah.
show was great.
Yeah.
But I had FOMO because all
Yeah.
my homies were at Rajid's party.
Yeah.
But so Rajid on his podcast, he had a SAG 2 years ago.
Mm.
And want to know something funny? I was in Orlando.
Oh,
What?
shit.
I was
You're
playing,
probably there.
well, I was playing a EDC after party that year.
Oh,
in
shoot.
22. I have never played
what?
Orlando.
22?
22, yeah. I've never played EDC Orlando, but I played an after party that year.
Oh,
That's
okay.
dope.
And so, anytime I do a show, I'm in the hotel in the morning. I work out in the gym, right? So
Mhm.
I'm on the treadmill and I'm watching Rajid's podcast. He's like, "Oh, I just uploaded something new with Saha and I was seeing the name a lot, but I didn't know too much about him. So I'm watching his podcast. I'm like, oh my god, this guy is like who I wish I was in high school because he was like a guitar player. He's in a band. He sings. He's Bengali.
That's awesome.
And a few months later, I'm in LA. This is last year, 2023, and I saw he's playing a show right by where I was staying. So I go see him and go. I DM him. I'm like, oh, I'm coming to your show. I want to like meet you. Blah blah blah. Blew my socks off.
Really?
Coolest, like so much talent for such a small room. I'm like, why the fuck are you playing this tiny ass bar? You should
Yeah.
be playing huge arena, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he went to like he's a Berkeley kid. He went to Berkeley School of Music.
Mhm.
Been in a bunch of bands. He's so talented. He's got an incredible voice, incredible stage presence. So I saw him a bunch that year play a lot of local venues in LA,
Mhm.
and I was like, dude, you need to like. I'm about to go on tour. You should come play
That's
shows.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had him play Brooklyn Mirage. By the time that I was kind of entering his orbit, we had locked in a lot of the artists on the tour,
Yeah.
and mostly DJs. But since he had a band, I was like, all right, what if we had you, LA, New York? We're doing the Greek in LA. We're doing Mirage here. Like these stages can handle a band.
Yeah.
And then ended up just being just New York. But I was like, yo, like you need a bigger fucking stage.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
He is genuinely just number one in my book. I know there's a lot of talented kids
Yeah.
out there, but he's
Yeah.
someone I've been like, I'm like, yo, I want to see you fucking.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy
Shout out
how
that
you're
boy.
you're like you had a Skrillex growing up, but now people see you as like their Skrillex, you know, like
Yeah.
just taking them under their wing, under
Yeah.
your wing.
I mean, I would just, like I said earlier, I like, it's the whole having the seat at the table and wanting to make sure that there are other seats available.
yeah.
Because unfortunately, there are a lot of gatekeepers. There are a lot of people who have the keys, and it is a lot of white people. It is like
Mhm.
promoters, agents, managers, all that stuff. They can only do so much,
Mhm.
and sometimes all it takes is someone like a Skrillex or someone like me who's in the position that I'm in
Mhm.
to speed up the process a
Yeah.
little bit, or else
Yeah.
it's going to take a little too long.
Yeah.
And I've also seen so many forms of careers come and go, and artists being bungled by their teams or the labels they're signed to, or
Mhm.
getting dropped. And there's a wide variety of hurdles
Yeah.
that happen to people. So
Yeah.
I want to do everything in my power to make sure that people aren't struggling, and also have the chance or the ability to reach a wider audience at the
I
end
love
of the
that.
day.
There's
you
enough
know?
room at the table for
Yeah.
everyone.
We had
More
that
than
conversation
enough.
with Munzi actually, like off and on camera, where I feel like I've noticed it more with like Bangladeshi people in this generation specifically, but mostly Bangladeshi people, where like since we didn't have that representation growing up, it was more like South Asian representation is usually just like the Indian
Yeah.
representation growing up. So now that we're in
Yeah.
the position to like give back and like
Yeah.
give the opportunities to people that we didn't really have, we're happy to just like
Yeah.
spread it, you know, like why would
Yeah.
we keep it to ourselves and just
Right.
see a select few go to the top, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But it's also very hard, I feel like, to get those genuine people that
Yeah.
say that they're going to give you help and then actually give it, you
Facts.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
you
been
saying
a
that
lot of
you saying that you played the EDC Orlando after party reminded me that I actually DM'd you in 2022.
Oh, that's crazy.
I
What the
DM'd you
hell?
in April
Oh, really?
saying come to Florida, bozo. You didn't respond. And then I think you announced the show, and I DM'd you on July 20th, and I said, let me make you biryani when you come.
Wait, in
you-
2019?
No, 2022.
Oh.
So the
That's
EDC after party,
crazy.
Yeah.
you announced the
Oh,
show, and
shit.
I offered you
Damn.
biryani.
You always be talking to
didn't say-
people like you
you
know
didn't
them
That's so
too.
funny. No, I love
Like, yo,
that.
Well,
come
now
to
you're on the
Florida, bozo.
podcast.
Florida. I've come Florida a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta host it.
Yeah, I was in
man.
Orlando last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Where's
Next
the
time-
biryani
yeah.
though?
It'll happen.
Last year when Monday came over, he made kebabs for her.
Oh yeah.
nice.
So I do this thing. I mean, I've done it once. Like whenever we have a guest, I want to do something for them in the world of what they do. I didn't know what to do for you because I can't DJ, but I can play piano. But we don't have a piano, so I was trying to finagle some way of like.
I thought he was gonna start singing for you. I guess I'm scared.
That thought did come across my mind, but I didn't. Not yet. I'll bless y'all with that. But yeah, I made Munzie some kebabs and they're very good. I should have made you kebabs too.
It's all good. Next time.
Make up for the.
Time for kebabs.
Yeah,
for the
I love
biryani.
Bengali food, so I would have accepted that.
Yeah. On that note, let's move on to some quick fire questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
End off the episode. We like to have a little fun. We talked talked a lot about a lot of serious topics.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some brain rot.
And when we say
some
rapid
nonsense.
fire, we mean like quick,
Okay.
like
yeah,
first
we're
stop.
gonna ask you questions.
Oh,
don't
boy.
think about it.
Yeah.
All right.
First one. What's your favorite Bengali dish?
My parents' lamb.
Ooh, that's underrated,
That's a good
actually.
one. We just went to Munzie's restaurant. She had some lamb ribs.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
cumin lamb ribs.
Yeah.
Nice.
The lamb, I feel like, is underrated in like Bangladeshi
Dude,
cuisine.
my dad is so goated with the sauce for real.
Yeah.
He's so good at that. I need to learn, but I love like when they chef up like that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love that. I think mine is I always say parta and mangsho.
Porta,
Sunday
shout out
brunch, you
Porta.
know?
Okay.
That's
Yeah. How many
underrated.
portas we doing?
3, 4.
3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, the thing is, when I have parta and mangsho, I don't eat the whole day after that because it's so filling.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
parta part is very heavy. For
It
me,
is.
so
That's
I
what it
just-
does.
I stay full. What's
Yeah.
yours?
Right. Favorite Bengali dish?
Yeah.
My mom's roast chicken.
Yeah.
She has
that's
like
good.
she has a
Yeah.
special recipe. Like it's actually like a secret recipe
Is it?
that she does
Okay.
not tell me.
Oh, she
Like
doesn't
she's
tell you,
only
okay.
told my sister. She actually does not tell me.
You
What the hell is
gatekeeping.
wrong with you, mom?
I like her malai curry, her shrimp.
My mom's food like
Shrimp
like
is so good.
like you
Yeah.
know how like some aunties got it and some aunties just like don't got
That's
it.
real.
You
That's
feel me?
real.
Like so,
It's such
like,
a hot take. You always said
Yeah.
it. Too.
like
I've been to some
respectfully,
functions and I'm like, this is
respectfully,
not
thank
my
you.
mom's cooking,
Right? It's
bro.
like it's like thank you. I appreciate it. Right?
Yeah.
It's food. Like thank you.
Yeah.
But it's like there's levels.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
There's
Like
levels to it.
don't do it again.
Yeah, that's
Do it
real.
again. Keep doing it. Right?
That's
but like
real.
you got your place. Right? My mom. Anyways.
Yeah. I
what's
think for
the
everyone,
next
your
question?
mom's gonna be number one. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next rapid fire. Favorite concert that you've ever been to?
Oh man. All right. Well, I've been to so many, but I grew up on Fall Out Boy, and
Oh, that's
Fall
a
Out
good
Boy.
one.
I think I saw them open for Blink at Madison Square Garden. That was a crazy one because I got Fall Out Boy and Blink. And
Yeah.
crazy first opener was Asher Roth.
What the?
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know who that
I Love
is.
College. You remember
Oh,
that
wow.
song?
Which one?
Oh,
How
I
does
feel
it go?
so fucking
Do a little
old.
thing.
Oh, he's a rapper. It's like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
how does it even go? I don't even remember. You
Put
don't
him on
remember
the
I
spot.
Love College?
No.
I Love College.
Is that
By
like a
Asher
millennial?
Roth?
Is that like a
It's a
millennial?
big radio song.
He's
Is
mad
that
at
old
us.
people?
He's mad at us now. Sorry.
Listen, all right.
Sorry. He's
I
gonna
was
leave.
a freshman in college when it came out, so like
So we were probably in like what, third grade?
like second grade.
it was
like,
09. How old are you?
Yeah,
How old
Oh
are
no,
you?
I'm
no, I was
25, I'm
11.
25.
I was 10, 11.
How old are you?
We're
25.
Both 25. I'm 32. I'm not that much.
Yeah, I know. We're just joking. We're just
Alright,
joking. But I don't know that song.
Sorry.
But honestly, I went to the Warped Tour a couple of times. And
Really?
Yeah. I went to
Sick.
3 actually. My first concert was what was it? It was a screamo concert. But I did the crowd surfing thing.
Sick.
And I
Right.
did that. That was like my first ever experience. I
Yeah.
fell on my head once.
She still
I went
talks about
back.
this.
I went back.
Let's go.
But
It's
I'm
like
saying-
you peaked.
But I'm saying you
It's
peaked
like
at 14.
This is like the moment of your life.
But I'm saying like those interactive like standing up concerts where you're able to do like crowd surfing and like the mosh pitting and shit.
yeah.
It's just so much more fun than just sitting in like the nosebleeds.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta do
Yeah.
what you gotta do, like, but yeah, I hate sitting in the stands for a concert.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Atlanta with him, we went to a Khalid and like Ed
Mm.
Sheeran concert randomly,
wow.
It's real
and we
random.
had like 400 like
jeez.
row
He was playing at the
300.
stadium, so we were in like the second to
Oh,
last row at the very
Yeah.
top.
Oh,
It was very
jeez.
last minute.
Yeah.
Anyways,
What was your favorite concert?
my favorite concert, I saw Joey Badass when I was like 15, when I was like 16. So he went on tour
Sick.
with Denzel Curry
Sick.
and like some other New York rappers. That was one of my first concerts. The Porter Robinson concert, honestly, that should change my life. And the Cascade
That
concert,
one's
that
up
should
there
change
too
my
for
life.
me.
Mm.
Yeah.
There has to be one more.
It's like life trajectory changing. Type
Yeah,
shit, you know?
Yeah.
I used to also be into like the main All Time Low. I got
Yeah.
that into like
All
my
Time
sister and
Low
shit. Yeah,
was
they're
one
on
of the-
tour right now. I think they're
Are
about
they?
to go on tour. Yeah, my
Oh.
sister told me that
Yeah.
the main We the Kings and like someone else, they're all
Oh,
on
yeah,
tour
yeah.
together right now. Yeah, she wanted to come to the New York show.
All Time Low was one of the last pop punk bands I was into. It was like 09. I saw them when I was a freshman in college.
Damn.
But I never got into Maine and Mayday Parade. I think they were just, I was starting to enter EDM as they were getting big, and pop punk was kind of fading from pop culture consciousness. But that All Time Low is crazy because like they've done collabs with like Millennium and like some EDM people.
Oh, really?
There's some
I didn't know
crossover
that.
there.
Yeah, shout out All Time Low. We're
I
gonna get
miss
you on
the
the
era,
pod.
bro. I miss
Yeah.
the era.
We're gonna get them on the pod.
Mayday, All Time Low,
Yeah.
Crown the Empire, all those.
All of them.
All right, next one. Biggest hot take can be about anything.
What's your hot take?
Oh,
Just like
I have too many.
Please, I need a juicy
you can.
one.
have
I need a
too
juicy
He's gonna
one.
get canceled.
I need a juicy one. You want to hear hers?
Man.
I hate hers.
No, okay, mine
hers
has
is-
evolved. It's
hers
not that
is-
anymore.
She doesn't think popcorn is the appropriate snack for a movie theater.
You know what? I would agree with that.
Here we go.
Never
Never mind. Here goes.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
a good
agree
one,
with that.
right?
Yeah, that is a good
What
one.
is better? It doesn't make a
I
lot
mean,
of noise.
I'm a bunch of crunch kind of guy.
Yeah,
so I
but
do
then
like
you're
what- I
pissing
like-
off the person next to you. Then you gotta be thoughtful.
If you're in
about
the back and you're watching, no one gives a shit.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're in the back, if you're in the back, nobody else there. You got a
But
problem.
my current hot take right now is, if you can't walk fast in New York, don't come.
That's not a hot take.
Oh,
Come on.
No,
wanna-
there's
not a hot
people
take.
that walk
wanna something
slowly.
funny? I'm a slow New York walker.
Oh,
I know.
He's from Long Island.
Yeah,
I
you're
get
the Long
roasted for
Island.
it.
He's from
All
Long
my
Island.
friends know this. My mom pointed this out when I was young. I don't
damn,
know
your
what-
mom too.
Yeah.
She said,
And
Sajeeb,
she would say,
thought that you were-
you have long legs. Why the fuck you walk slow?
just like that.
And I don't have an answer. My body was just not built for walking. I don't
It
know
is
what
You're
what
just
it
not
is.
built for hustle culture then.
It's okay.
Unfortunately, no. But the least New York thing about me is the speed of my walk.
Okay.
That's
I'm a
crazy.
leisurely
That's not a
walker.
hot. That's a pet peeve. That's a hot take.
No, I have hot takes, but I don't know if I can say them on camera.
Yo,
Dang.
please.
Okay, it's off the
This is a
camera.
safe
It's off the
space. This is
camera.
a safe
I'm a-
space.
Say your least.
Chill. No, say the juiciest one. I need
The
it.
juiciest one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a clip about it.
Man.
Make
I
sure it
mean,
goes
the
viral.
juiciest stuff is probably like, thinking certain DJs being overrated or whatever.
Oh my god.
That type shit, but I don't, which is funny because I think I could say it on this podcast without it like entering EDM world.
It's
difficult to
What Jai Wolf said this shit. Other hot takes outside of EDM though.
Anything, pull it out. Pull it out.
I'm gonna let's go to the next.
All right,
one.
next
Alright.
one.
I'll-
You'll-
I'll sit on it,
you
yeah.
can.
Everyone a DJ nowadays, though, huh? We talked about this in our last
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
Everyone a goddamn DJ.
That's
Thoughts
a
on
real.
this?
That's a real one. And you know
Yeah.
what's funny? When people, I know DJ is the easiest like term to use to describe someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna sound so
You're a
douchey.
producer.
and
You're
I
an
promise-
artist.
I promise
artist.
it's not douchey, but that's like the third thing I would call myself.
Yeah.
For some people, that's like the first. Like okay, I had Jag Gill open at the Elsewhere Rooftop, and like to me, that's like a real DJ. She's so sick. I feel like I came in for producing, for songwriting, all that stuff kind of comes before. But I think like now, no matter what kind of creative you are, you do have to be kind of like a jack of all trades. Like you do poetry, but you also have a podcast and you have all this other stuff. You're a fashion girl, you know? So like you can't just be one thing. So
Gotta do
for
it
a
all.
lot of producers, it's like you can't stop there. You also have to be a curator, a DJ, blah, 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 fashion icon,
You gotta
whatever
be
the
tasteful.
fuck. Like,
You know,
gotta be
you know what
tasteful.
sucks? Like I remember, like obviously Bangladeshi is like a very big thing at my forefront.
Yeah.
I remember one person came up to me once, and like she meant like good intent, right? She had good intention. She was like, "Oh, you're that brown girl, right?"
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
What
her.
the fuck?
I was like, yeah.
Was she white?
No, she was brown,
Yeah.
but
What
she
does that
just
mean?
she just didn't know my username or my name, so she was just like,
Oh.
"Oh,
Oh,
you're
you
that
there.
brown girl," and then
I
we
know
took a
you.
picture together,
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, "Damn, that
was it
was
this weekend?
it
That
was
was a
no,
while
it was a
ago.
few
Oh.
months ago."
Yeah.
But it was just like such a wake up call because I'm like, damn,
You
like
gotta switch it up.
no, but it sucks because it's like I feel like I do so many different things and I feel like I'm a hardworking person. But when you're just niched down into just like, oh, you're that brown girl, it's just like damn,
Hello.
you know, people don't see it
Yeah.
sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Your
I don't
name's
know.
Labby.
Shut the
What's your next
up,
one?
bro. Next one is favorite Long Island spot.
Oh my god.
We were just talking about this with my friends the other day. There's this bowling alley. It's not my favorite spot, but I'll just say this real quick. It's like Harold Lanes. They apparently got renovated.
Is it the one in on
New-
Hillside?
Yeah, on Hill.
The one that I used to freaking go to.
There's like it's by
The
a
one
Dunkin'.
next to the dunk. Wasn't there like a frozen icy spot nearby?
Probably it's near the
Probably.
Panera.
Okay.
Shut up.
No, that's not one of my favorite spots, but like I
First thing you
I
thought
like
of.
bowling. Bowling's
like
fun.
bowling.
Yeah.
What's your
Um,
average score?
Oh man, like between 50. And
Oh, okay.
100.
Alright.
I don't know.
He's not
It's
serious.
that great. I rarely.
He's
rarely
messing
break
around. He doesn't
100.
actually play. He doesn't actually bowl.
No.
He's playing.
Favorite spot on
bowler.
Long Island. Okay. I love just going to see a movie. I know that could be about anywhere, but like I think a comfort thing when I go home, and I associate Thanksgiving and Christmas with this going to see a movie with my parents. It's always wholesome, a Pixar movie or
Yeah.
something that without too much sex in it or whatever. You
Right.
know?
Where'd you go? Like Roosevelt Field?
Yeah, like Roosevelt Field.
Yeah.
You know what? Roosevelt Field is like a classic Long
Yeah.
Island mall. You know,
Yeah.
just like everything is there.
I love.
You know, were you there before the renovation?
Yeah.
When
yeah,
the
yeah.
airplane, remember the airplane in the
You're
food court?
getting so excited.
Yeah, no. So
This is your
Yeah.
first
No
time
one-
ever talking to somebody.
no one
from
gets Long Island Court.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
The food court used to be upstairs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a Taco Bell though. Now it's
You
like
get it.
fancy. and they
Yeah,
have a
now it's
bunch
like
of-
rich people stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'd always where'd I always go? H&M, classic Brown
Yeah,
Boys
yeah.
store.
Yeah.
Facts. Nice button.
You know,
up.
he used to work at Aeropostale.
Oh really?
Aero-
Aeropostale.
No,
Y'all,
bro,
y'all saying it
Aeropostale.
wrong. I work there. How you gonna tell me?
No,
Yeah.
It was H&M. It was the video games like GameStop, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was that the AMC that's there.
Yeah.
You know, there's two of them actually.
Yeah.
Right. There's one
It's like-
at the mall, and then there's
By,
one
like, Red
block or two
Cheesecake Factory. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Now I'm
Please
just,
relax.
now I'm just like
Please
bragging.
relax.
Yeah.
No more
So
Long Island.
yours
talk.
would be
The mall. He said the mall.
No, he said theater.
Oh, my fault.
Mine would probably be you know, the Long Beach, Lido Beach,
Oh yeah, yeah.
because that's
yeah.
like I feel like the cleanest beach that we have.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
you don't agree?
No. I'm just
Oh,
saying
okay,
that's
okay.
like a Long Island
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Lido Beach.
It
the
is.
cleaner beach.
Lido Beach. Yeah. I guess I'm a Long Island core, but that
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
where me and my high school friends would hang out at nighttime and just like have a nice little like chit chat.
Okay.
You ever been to Jones Beach Theater?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Actually, for a Warped Tour was there.
So my
Oh,
first
shit.
concert, Fall Out Boy, was there.
Oh,
2006.
really?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
Cobra Starship, Academy is Plus 44, Fall Out Boy, and Paul Wall.
Oh my
Dang,
God!
that's
What
a
the hell,
lineup.
Paul Wall, dude?
Yeah, it was a 2007 Honda Civic tour.
Okay.
Dang.
Their
and
tour was called the Honda Civic Tour.
So back then,
beautiful.
every year Honda Civic would sponsor a tour. So it was Fall Out Boy headline that year, but like the year before maybe Blink, and the year after was Panic at the Disco. I remember.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it was the Honda Civic tour. It was like national tour, kind of like
Wait,
Warped
so
Tour. 5
Honda
bands.
Civic, not just Honda. Like Honda Civic is sponsoring the tour. Like the actual model
Very
of
It
the
was
car.
cool. You can look this up. They would have a decked out Honda Civic with decals of the band.
Oh my
Like,
God.
like when you walk in, you'd see the Honda Civic, and it was like they would give it away to someone. It was
Yeah,
like a
that was
fan
like in the
giveaway.
malls too.
They got
Remember, they just had
sponsored-
cars
they got
in there.
sponsored
Yeah.
The difficult
Yeah.
to tour.
Crazy.
But it was called the Honda Civic Tour, Jones Beach.
I need that
Another
tour.
fond Long Island core memory.
It's so niche.
They got sponsored the difficult tour.
All right, last
Honda
one
Civic.
is what is one thing that you wish more people knew about you?
Knew about me. I do wish they knew about how Bengali I am.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. I know I'm very white presenting, alt presenting.
I don't think you're white presenting.
No.
No,
And,
I don't
like,
think
if
you
you-
are.
It's just, I think a lot of people assume that maybe there is shame there, or there like he doesn't want to represent. It really is not like that. I think that. Oh, I had a really good breakdown about this with someone recently. It's the music you consume, the music you make, and who you are as a person. They're like three different things. Because I don't really listen to EDM. I listen to I've been listening to Charlie XCX and Lord, and I love 1975. I love been listening to a lot of Kendrick stuff lately, Childish Gambino, like stuff outside of
I've seen those
EDM.
pictures deep down in your feed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see, I went to like an Odd
OG.
Future show back in
Yeah.
the day. Like,
Yeah.
I love music in general, and then that's different from the music I make, right? And then both those things are different from like who I am as Shoji when I'm with my parents. You know, those are three different identities. And for different artists, different musicians, sometimes those identities line up, sometimes they're different. They're totally different things. And sometimes I think that might just be a product of being second generation immigrant, being in America, having all these different identities. And then even for us, like, it's so funny how you could break it down a step further with Bengalis, because you got Indian Bengalis, you got Bangladeshi Bengalis, you got Muslim Bengalis, you got Hindu Bengalis. So there's like 4 quadrants of identity being mixed there. And then on top of that, you have being American, being here, right? So a lot of that stuff can sometimes bleed into the separation of my personal musical identity, right? So on the surface, maybe it might not seem like I'm the most Bengali person in the world, but then I feel like knowing my personal experiences growing up and my relationship with my parents and my family back home, I do feel like I'm as Bengali as it gets.
Yeah.
Maybe it may not feel like that through
Yeah.
social media, but that's definitely something I wish people knew
But I
more
think
about me.
On top of that, people see like Coachella and EDM as just like white. They just
sure.
associate that with
For
like white
sure.
culture. So then when they
Yeah.
see, artists like you or like any person of color,
Yeah.
they just assume that they're probably from like a well-off background or from like a white family, like, you
Sure,
know.
yeah.
So maybe that also plays a part with it. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily you're doing something wrong or like you're not presenting yourself as Bangladeshi, but
Yeah.
it's just like people have to kind of unlearn that mindset, and that will
There's
take a long
that.
time.
And then the other thing that I've talked a lot about with other people is that when they see someone like me or see someone like Rufina, it's like brain breaking to them because the archetype didn't exist prior. And even just like even though there have been people like Jay Sean or Bollywood singers, it's like we're still kind of not exactly that.
Yeah.
We're different, you know? And so that a lot of people have a hard time, one, understanding that, wrapping their minds around it, and then two, projecting their own expectations.
Yeah.
And it's because none of that has existed before. With East Asian artists, they've had K-pop, they've had J-pop, they've had almost 2 decades worth of that history. So when someone like BTS or like a new K-pop group comes on the scene, there's always kind of like a existing archetype. And then when you see Asian singers, rock stars, pop stars, rappers, there's already like that's existed before. You know, so there's no expectation of what people expect from them, and that's why you have this like very wide spectrum of different genres and different artists from the East Asian world. But yeah, sorry, that was
No,
you're good. That was a
that was
great
a rapid
breakdown.
fire question, but you like had a like an answer right away too.
Yeah, but also like being Bengali is just gonna be different for everybody. You know, there's no right or wrong way to be Bengali. And even growing up, I used to. It's so funny. I used to feel like I speak Bengali, and I would have Bengali friends who didn't speak Bengali, and I'd be like, I'm more Bengali than you. I'd think that, you know, but you can't compare those things.
Yeah.
It's just different experiences for different people, and just because I know the language and maybe someone else doesn't mean I'm more Bengali than them. Or just because someone taps in a bit more doesn't make them more Bengali, whatever.
And like, who are we to knock on someone for trying their best and like not being perfect yet, you know?
Totally. It comes in so many different forms and different ways, and I think again that whole judgment thing comes from our parents for sure.
Yeah.
Because they used to be very judgy and dealing with aunties and uncles and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, man. That was a great breakdown. Yeah, that's a good place to leave it at.
Yeah.
Thank you. What?
Our 10-second advice?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me thank him first. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
This was so much fun.
You're
This was
spitting
very
just like
insightful.
so much wisdom and fire.
Yeah, this was
Trying
great.
my best.
And also, we've been trying to get you on the podcast for like a long time. So
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm
yeah.
glad.
No, I've been watching all the clips, and I'm like, oh, this feels like a great place to intersect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your experience with difficult dish?
Mate, 10 out of 10, man.
Your rating and review.
Yeah, I heard it here. Yeah, I heard it here.
Yeah,
We end up
super
our
chill.
episodes with a 10-second advice on literally anything.
Yeah.
In
Oh.
10 seconds.
Damn, I don't even know mine.
Do you
yet.
have one?
No,
I don't have one. He probably doesn't. So let's
What's
take.
No, I kind of have one. I
Oh,
think.
shit,
my
go
fault.
ahead.
We've
I
been
gotta stop
talking.
assuming.
We've been talking a lot about fear of failure, which
Yeah.
I think is a great theme. I want to say if you're creative, you're a brown person, take that first step, take that risk. Don't worry about what anyone thinks about you. It's gonna be rocky for the first bit, but once you kind of get past that, keep going, and you will reach and achieve your dreams at
That's
some point.
Oh my
and
god.
you're speaking right to
Oh
the
my
camera
God.
too.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
it's
I want,
to
I
the
heard that
I
soul.
want them to hear that.
Y'all heard it
so-
here.
I think mine on that same vein is if you do fail, like if you do take the steps that you want to do to go outside of the career path that you were told to do, and you do fail, don't make that into like a negative thing. Like I think we always have this fear of failure, but then on top of that, it's like a negative thing. If you do fail at being an artist or even a doctor, whatever it is, take that failure and move on with it. Like, you know, sulk in it for a little bit. But I feel like the biggest failure is you not trying and like actually just regretting your whole life, you know? So don't make it a taboo thing if you do fail. Just like learn from it and grow from it, you know?
Every loss is
Yeah.
a lesson.
Yeah.
Also to add on, I know this is
Hey,
more than 10
yo.
seconds, but what I want to say is that people also don't always see your failures. So if you're failing, don't be embarrassed. Don't think that like the whole world is watching, because I've taken so many L's.
Yeah.
You just don't know what the
Yeah.
L's are.
Yeah.
Like they're happening behind. Sometimes they're
Happening right now.
They're happening right now, you know. No, but like it's so true. Like anytime you see someone through Instagram or whatever, if you have a friend, and you think that they're winning in life and they're super successful, whatever, you have no idea what they're dealing with, or if they're taking L's, because they're not going to be public about it. They're probably dealing it on their own. So if you're experiencing that, the lows in life or whatever, that's so normal, and it also means you're on the right path. If you're not failing, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. You're not
Weirdo.
perfect. Weirdo.
Relax. Yeah, on the same vein.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. stop buying running sneakers at full price. Just go to your nearest Nike clearance store. They will have the exact same sneakers for a third of the price. I just got some Nike Pegasus React 5s that are $210 shoes, $70.
That's crazy.
Nice.
I just got some Nike Tech Heras $150 shoes, $50.
That's crazy.
Go to your Nike clearance store.
That's a
I'd
good
save
one.
y'all
I'm
some
glad
money.
that you were
on the
serious.
same vein, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're all intertwined and connected. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Difficult-ish.
Please plug
today.
all your socials and
at
like
the
your,
an hour and a
your
half
tours.
in. By the way, this is Jai Wolf.
Yeah, you can find me on Jai Wolf with an X at the end on Instagram. And
I thought you had
Twitter.
like all the ads. You didn't have.
Okay,
Jai
well,
Wolf.
someone
What
did have the Jai
Wow.
It wasn't the one with the
Twitter.
mugshot.
No, it's this guy. He's blocked me too.
Oh no.
So he's like there's a soccer team in the UK, Tottenham. I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them.
They're the Wolves, and so his name is Jai. So his thing is Jai Wolf. All he talks about is soccer. He blocked me a long time ago.
Fuck
That's
that guy.
crazy.
But because he had that handle, I just put an X at the end of mine, and then I made all mine's just Jai Wolf X, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of like, no one had like the artist name. No one was on Spotify.
Yeah.
As Jai Wolf, so I was like, I'm gonna claim
Someone
that.
got the IG
So-
though.
Well, I could have gotten the IG. I just chose not to.
Oh really?
Okay.
Again, I thought the X was cool.
Artistic
my
choice.
fault.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
artistic. I don't
My
know.
fault.
Yeah. I got
Fuck
it.
that guy,
I got
bro.
the X2 in my old
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, he's on tour. Everything about him is going to be linked in,
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
the
got some new
description.
music coming out later this year.
Hey.
Oh my god! Any kind of like an hour and a half into the pod? Any like like little like sneak peeks? Like, what's up?
Just keep your eyes open.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think there will
Never
be a lot of good stuff coming out this year.
I like that.
I'm
Excited.
I like that.
Excited.
Thank you so much, Sajeeb, for coming on the podcast
Yeah, of
today.
course.
This was
Thanks
so
for
much
having
fun.
me.
This was a
Thank
beautiful time.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to Difficult-ish. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. We love you.
We love you.
I love it.
Bye.